Presenting to you Green Tea with Zakki, a chit-chat with some of SmartQ's most celebrated people who have explored, evolved and emerged into leaders, influencers and champions in their roles. I am excited to play host with such extraordinary people who have done everything they can to build a name for themselves at SmartQ and also build SmartQ in the process. Stay tuned for Green Tea with Zakki and follow us on this evergreen journey with the extraordinary people of SmartQ. Welcome back to the third episode of Green Tea with Zakki. On today's episode, we do not have with us SmartQ employees sharing their stories of growth, success, and their contributions in building SmartQ. Instead, we have with us two very special guests who've played an indispensable role in the growth of SmartQ internationally. We have with us two incredible leaders, irreplaceable mentors who have immense faith and belief in SmartQ's tenacity, teamwork, technology, and talent. It's my honor and privilege to welcome and introduce you to Claire, the Group Director of Growth and Innovation of Compass Group, and Claudine, the Digital and Innovation Head and Director of the APAC region. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Bangalore, the SmartQ office, and of course, Green Tea with Zakki. It's a pleasure to have you on with the set, and I look forward to having a wonderful chat with you all, to know you all better outside of work and some parts of work as well. So thank you guys for joining us on this set of Green Tea with Zakki.
Thank you for having us.
So we have a couple of questions. How the segment generally works is we have two parts of it, but for today's session, it'll just be one segment because we've already done the town hall and there's a lot of meetings that have happened about the serious stuff and agenda with Compass aligned with SmartQ. So this will be more fun and interactive just to have a light-hearted moment with the audience as well. So we'll begin then. So the questions will be asked and both of y'all could take a shot at it. We could go with Claire first and then Claudine, you could answer next.
Sure.
Yeah? So guys, we're ready to start and get started on the session with Claire and Claudine? Yes. Amazing. Love the excitement. And it's the first time we're doing a live audience with our esteemed guests who've flown from the UK and Australia. So it's a great beginning for the live audience with the panel that we have today. So beginning the first question, Claire, so this is for you. How has your collaboration been with SmartQ as a whole? This is the people, the products, and the projects that you work with.
Wow, it's been collaboration all the way, and as you know, it's been personally a wonderful journey working with you all. The excitement that you bring, the creativity, the fun. We have a lot of fun on our calls, and just the vision. I often feel that you're 3 steps ahead. I'm coming in suggesting, shall we do this? Shall we do that? Turns out you'd already built it to be able to do that. So, you're already ahead. It's been fantastic to collaborate and to continue to collaborate. And I get very excited about just how far we can take this.
That's amazing. The key takeaway is that we are 3 steps ahead, and that's a great place to be at. Knowing that we are already ahead of what's being asked from us and we're already thinking ahead. So that's a great takeaway to learn from Claire, that we are already in advance of where we should be. So that's amazing to know, Claire. Claudine, do you have something to add on to that question? I know it's relatively new that you've been working with the SmartQ team, but do you have anything to add to the same question?
Yeah. Look, the collaboration's been amazing. And it's not, as you say, the collaboration and being 1 step ahead. And it's really about knowing the business.
Yeah.
Being 1 step ahead is knowing our customers. But also, I've loved the questions. If there's something that the SmartQ team aren't quite sure about or don't really know about, they really want to get into it. They really want to understand the business. And it makes the difference, right? In knowing your customers.
Absolutely.
And being ahead of that.
Wow, that's brilliant to know. And that's an amazing takeaway for us from a team perspective, that we're ahead, we keep our clients' interests ahead of us, and we're always looking to be a mile ahead or a step ahead in delivering results. That's brilliant. That's a great start to the first question. Moving on to the second question. What was your reaction when you first heard about SmartQ and its capabilities? This is for you, Claire, because you were part of the decision-making process, speaking with Krishna, Abhishek, Rakesh, and the likes. So we'd love to know how your first reaction was.
You're going back 3 years now, and I'm getting old, and the memory's fading. But how was my reaction when we first worked together? Do you know what? I'd like to think there was chemistry straight away on that very first meeting. That
Nice.
We were kind of there was a level of excitement about what the art of the possible was. I'd not worked directly with a team in India before. So this was new to me too, just collaborating with someone that's, with a team that are in a different country, different time zone. But those challenges seem to melt away pretty quickly, possibly because you guys work round the clock, and so therefore I didn't really have to adjust my time zones. But yeah, I just always remember straight from the get-go that the art of the possible, the excitement, the creativity, it was pretty much there from the start.
Wow. So did you feel right away, like in the first conversation, that this seems to be a great fit and this could be potentially something very big, like at the first conversation itself? Or...
Yeah, I think so. I never remember thinking anything else.
Wow.
Definitely.
That's amazing. Moving on to the third question. You guys have worked across industries in leadership roles, and like you told us about the different industries like Marks and Spencer's, Apple, and have moved into the food and hospitality world. So the question is, how has it been in terms of inclusivity for growth for women in the world of hospitality, and how should women who are interested in this segment perceive the F&B industry? So both of y'all could answer this. Maybe Claire, you could start.
Yeah, there are a lot of women in Compass. I would say that was the first thing when I came into this sector, was that it was great. A lot of women senior leaders. So I think hospitality has potentially attracted women from the start, and therefore has grown and developed. And so you do find in this sector, certainly on the operations side, a lot of women here, which is great. At the top, we're seeing improvements. We're not at parity yet, but we have good representation of women leaders, plenty of women leaders too that you can relate to. So it's not just one or two. It's not just, you're not looking for one woman to carry it for all women, which I think has been the challenge for some women in certain sectors.
Sure.
There's enough women for you to have, for women to just be themselves rather than they have to represent all womenkind and sort of feel the pressure of that. There are enough women leaders around to sort of share the load and share the burden. Within tech, our Chief Information Officer, I have to say, has had a great run of recruiting some great women in. We've got some very good women leaders within the IT function, and certainly on the technical side. We could always do better, we can always do more, but again, I think there is strong representation here. So I don't feel I'm the only woman in the room, which I might have done in previous sectors, not by a long stretch. And I do feel there are other women that I can sort of work with and I'm inspired by in the way that I work day to day.
Amazing. So, Claudine, would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that statement. And I think there are increasing amount of women in technology. Not enough. But I think that's across the industry, and I think Compass has done really well. I think in an environment where it's really tough to source talent, and to really lean into the diversity picture. For me, Compass has stood out in terms of being able to bring in that diversity of thought, including gender diversity across the board, and I think that makes for better performance. It means we better understand our customers, our end consumers, because a whole bunch of them are women too, and they all have enormous diversity amongst them. So I think that makes us a better company and it gives us better performance. We just need to keep at it.
That's amazing to know. And at SmartQ, we're always looking out for the freshest talent and looking out for people who could join a revolutionizing industry of food and beverage services. And we're always on the lookout for gender balance and diversity. And Claudine and Claire here are perfect examples that represent growth and modernization of this industry and the inclination or inclusivity towards having more women at this particular hospitality and food and beverage industry. So you've heard it right from them, and they are examples of the growth that they've shown in leadership positions at a global level, at regions like APAC, and at a global level. So that's fantastic to know, and I'm sure people watching the video, especially women folk, would learn a lot about how women representation and the movement towards inclusivity is taken large at Compass. And we are a Compass Group company, we share the similar values. So that's a great insight for us to take away. So leaping on to the similar question, since you guys have worked with SmartQ, and if you had the opportunity to talk to people who are interested in applying to SmartQ, how would you describe to people SmartQ as a brand that would get their attention and probably move them to the application button and send in their resumes?
Well, I think working here, it's a lovely environment for one. So my first time in the building, and I'd be very happy to come to work here every day. It's very much geared to collaboration, very much geared to sort of meeting, being with people, working on ideas together. But this is a company with real heart. It's very passionate about what they do, really keen to be pushing boundaries, and at the same time really interested in us all as human beings. And so I think you very much, my sense here is everyone here is an individual. Everybody's this huge respect for you as an individual and what you want to achieve in life and where you want to go. And so I think it'd be great to come to work. I'm only sorry I have to get on a plane and it's 10 hours, otherwise I would be here every day, I can tell you. So yeah, I would really encourage people to come and check you out and see how they can further their career here. Especially women.
Especially women.
Especially women. I mean, it's open, it's collaborative, it's respectful. As you say, walking into the room here, you just got a real great feel. It's light and airy, and I think that's reflected in the culture as well. I think just meeting everybody here, you get a real sense of it. I think there's nothing like walking the floor and actually talking to people to get that feel.
Absolutely. That's such amazing words, and I'm sure that would propel people to apply to SmartQ and know more about SmartQ and this industry. And I would like to add on that SmartQ is built on the principle of Rishta, which is basically how we are bonded as one family and one culture, one unit driving towards achieving goals. Basically, Rishta is an acronym for our core values, which basically have us together functioning as one team towards growth. And that represents us as one family unit working together to have milestones met and grow together as one team. So that echoes in terms of the heart that you spoke about. That's the heart of SmartQ is Rishta, and that represents us and our beliefs. So it's really great to see that you all feel that we have the heart, and we believed that we had the heart as well, have the heart. And that's where Rishta was framed by the leadership team to basically represent what you guys just said in our own way. So that's fantastic to know. Moving on to a little bit more fun questions. Fun, or it could be perceived in either ways. So you guys must have been following our work on social media, LinkedIn specifically. Do you have thoughts on that and how we're doing things differently? And do you all follow something specifically or look out or watch out for something from SmartQ?
I really enjoy following your posts. I love the fact that that you do hone in on individuals and that you're sort of we're learning about the team. I really like that, and learning who's working here and what they're doing and where they're coming from. So I think that's good fun. I love it when you post about the work, the hackathon. I really enjoyed following that. Yeah. I think you're doing a great job of kind of giving an insight into what working here would be like, and hopefully attracting the best and the greatest talent from around the country.
Absolutely. Claudine, about yourself?
Yeah. I also find it's fun. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's human. So I couldn't build on that anymore. It's just it's fantastic social media coverage and worth following.
Amazing. We would love to see you all continue following us and sharing some of our updates and collaborating with Compass Group as well. We could have that connection as well and build strongly and have a greater social media synergy going forward. You never know. So yeah, we look forward to that. Maybe have this interview or some of the meetings shared on your page, and we could have that great collaborative effort as well. So here's a few questions from the team you all work with closely. So the question is, what are some of the common responses from the SmartQ team that you keep hearing, and are there any funny responses that you all found really funny or humorous when it comes to collaborating on calls, and certain responses that really stomped you for a moment and thought, oh wow, this is a unique, funny response? Have there been a lot of that, Claire? It looks like you have quite a few.
I think, I don't know, in my head, I hear Abhishek frequently going, yes, Claire. Yes, Claire. Yes, Claire. Yes, Claire. And he must be thinking, oh my God. But he's just, yes, Claire. Yes, Claire. So I think in my head, I can hear him saying that a lot. Yes, Claire. All right. We'll do that. Yes, Claire. So yes. Oh, wow. Other funny responses. I don't know. We get the giggles a lot, but it's I'm not sure it's any one thing, but it's it is frenetic what we do. There are some really challenging days, but somehow, some way, we never seem to lose our sense of humour over it all. And I hope that's two-way. I mean, there are moments where things are pretty intense, but throughout it all, this human point, we're all just individuals trying to do a great job. There's huge positive intent, and I think that there's recognition in that. So even on the most difficult of days, we somehow manage to find the funny side.
The lighter side, the humorous side of things.
Taking fun and learning, I feel, and you can do that together, and that collaboration space makes it, I think a safe space to have fun, right?
Absolutely.
Even when the going gets tough, as Claire's mentioned.
Absolutely. Abhishek, what we'd love for you to do is probably on the next call with Claire is probably say, no, Claire.
Yes.
No, Claire.
Dare you.
So that's amazing. That was really funny, and maybe we should create a repository of all the stuff, the funny stuff that's said, and have a library of things that are said on these calls, and have that lighter moment shared across teams, and just see how people get a good laugh out of it. Cool. So moving on, this is a question again from some of the teammates you work with. What is the funniest name that you can give to the SmartQ team?
Funniest name?
Yeah.
Well, after these 2 days, I would say just feeders. Oh my goodness, I have not had so much food as keeps materializing. But wow, I don't know.
There are several, I think. And one that came up yesterday, I think, was the guru, which relates to one person. Yes, one person in particular. But ultimately, I think SmartQ as a team, you guys are the gurus. You guys come together as one team. You work like gurus to make it happen, right? For our clients, for our people, for Compass. That's how I'm sort of going to walk away with that.
Wow, that's brilliant. I think we should clap for ourselves, getting a compliment of known as the gurus. So that's a brilliant name. And could you probably elaborate on Rakesh's story about the guru? I mean, what was that all about?
Rakesh, right? Well, he's a meditation.
Oh, meditation.
He's the guru of meditation. We all need a bit of meditation every so often, a bit of recentering, a bit of getting back to our roots spiritually. I think when you have leaders in a company who can lead others, not just in, say, the technical everyday, but can lead them spiritually as well. I mean, that's an important part of the culture. I think that makes SmartQ pretty special.
Absolutely. In fact, I should speak about when we had World Mental Health Day, and that whole week, we dedicated it towards mental health, and that was led by Rakesh and Keshav. And the HR team had a big role in having speakers over to speak about the importance of meditation, mental health. So that was a big game changer for us, and that's how we value and take mental health as a very big stance at SmartQ, because people well-being and overall well-being is extremely influential and important at work as well. So
all the more, mental health is all the more important post-pandemic, I think.
Absolutely.
Worldwide, we're seeing that.
Yeah.
And if a company like SmartQ can pick that up and actually take a lead, I think that's really impressive.
Absolutely. And we aim to do that regularly and continue creating a focus area for that, because like you said, after the pandemic, it has become an important and essential topic to be vocal about and not sweep it under the carpet and have it addressed. And that's what we believe to do as a company, and take a big stance on mental health. Awesome. That's an amazing insights and answers. Hope you guys are having fun so far.
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. So moving on to the next question. Did you find the accent difficult to interpret when you interacted with the Indian team? And has that been an issue, or are there points when you hear something you don't understand, but you just continue the conversation because you don't want to feel like, oh, I didn't understand what was said?
I'm sure that never happened. But I think it's much easier when you guys come on camera. When you're off camera, it can be harder. But actually, when you're on camera, it really isn't an issue. So I think, and you guys come on camera more since you've moved into this building, obviously sort of back. I think, but I think there is a tuning in of the ear. I might have struggled a bit at the beginning with certain accents. There are other accents that guys have that I've never struggled with. So it will vary across team member. But I think I don't see that so much of an issue now. So whether I've tuned in, whether it is because cameras, but yeah, I think
I get that with any cultural differences. On camera just makes a massive difference. Totally back that. And you get the body language, right? It's all part of how we communicate. And I think we made that whole video experience became so much more important post-pandemic. I mean, I never really did video conferences pre-pandemic, but now it's an essential part of the way we do business, and it just makes it that much more personal.
Absolutely.
Albeit, we do have one client, a banking client, that still doesn't even use Teams or Zoom without voice. They still use the old voice conferencing, and we did a workshop with them. Can you imagine how crazy that was, just doing a workshop by phone? And I was doing a Miro board, but none of them could see it because they were just all joining by voice, and then you were sending them as a PDF mid-workshop in order to do. So, I mean, that is still fairly, they've got a little way to go, that bank, to catch the rest of us.
That's quite a way to catch up.
Yeah.
But the big takeaway again is to have your video on. And Abhishek, maybe on video you could say, no Claire, no Claire, no Claire. Awesome. So moving on to the next question. So would love to know from you guys about your interests outside of work. Like Claire, we know that you have an interest in theatrical music and traveling. And Claudine, we've understood and checked from your profile that you were part of the Olympic sailing development team in Australia. That's some really interesting stuff. So if you could speak about your interests outside work and how that keeps you vibing or your ikigai in place in terms of things that are outside work that keep you motivated on a weekend perhaps or on a holiday.
Sure. Well, obviously, those of you that have children know that a lot of the time you're talking about interests that you once had before they came along, as opposed to these are interests that you get to do much now. But no, I mean, life with kids is just great, and a lot of outside of work is spent as much time with them and as much time. Mine are teenagers, so of course there's a limit to how much they want to spend with me. But what time I can get, I will take. But absolutely, I love the theatre, be that musical theatre. I forced Madhu and Abhishek to go and see a musical when they came to London. You've got to go watch that. And really enjoy going to the theatre. So that's absolutely my passion.
Nice, that's good to know. How about you, Claudine?
Yeah, so I used to sail a lot, as you've worked out, and loved it, and I used to do that all the time. But yeah, I think sort of life got in the way, so I've moved away from that whole professional sailing scene, and now I'm into running, actually, and I love running most mornings. And as part of my getting into the day, we talked about mental health, and it just sets me up for the day. I just love it.
Like, do you run every day, or do you do a certain number of kilometers or miles?
Most days. And I wouldn't call myself a fast runner, but a regular runner.
Got it.
No, I just I enjoy that side of things. And from a home perspective, I also have a teenage girl who's just finished school, and so big I think home changes to come. I think, so that's kind of exciting and daunting. And I have to say, I feel like it's cliched because I work for a food services organisation, but I love my food. I love my food. So one of my pastimes is I love discovering new things and new food, and I'll go out with my friends and my husband, and we'll check out what's new, what restaurant or cafes have recently opened, and being here in India, I've loved trying all the new food, pani puri. That was awesome, so much fun.
That's amazing. Are you the kind of runner who is like, okay, I'm going to do 10 kilometers today or 10 miles, and I'm going to reward myself with this meal? Are you that, because you're a foodie, you said, so do you reward yourself a lot with food?
God, I never restrict my food. I never restrict my food. I always run further on the weekends because I have more time. Often I'm time bound more than anything else. True. I try to run, I don't know, on average 7 kilometers. It's not too far. 7 to 8 kilometers throughout the week. And then, on the weekends, who knows?
You amp it up on the weekends, depending on the time you have.
I have a 50-kilo dog. A Ridgeback, so he'll come running with me on weekends sometimes. And
nice.
so got to keep him nice and fit. We'll go on these big walks around Sydney Harbour.
Yeah. You should meet Anirudh Verma from our team. He's a runner himself, and he has a similar passion for running, like you just said. You would have a great conversation with him.
Awesome.
And in fact, we just recently did a story about his running achievements on social media, because he does ultra marathons and he's been doing it for years now. And most of the conversations we have with him over tea and coffee is about where he ran and how much he ran and where's he going to run next. So you would probably have a great conversation with him about running and have a mutual conversation there.
That is really impressive. I think I pale in comparison on the running front.
Yeah. But actually, he's there, who's just waved his hand out. Anirudh is there. So Anirudh and Claudine, you all should speak about running maybe whenever you'll get the time. Yeah. Awesome. So moving on, what is the funniest thing that you've seen so far that you've seen so far in India? Claire, it's your first time. Have you seen something like, wow, does this even exist? And how did this happen on the road or something like that?
Well, your traffic is something else, that is for sure. No notion of lanes, no notion of sort of sticking to your lane. But I don't know. I think probably yes. So far would be the traffic, but actually we were just discussing just how green. So not funny, but just how green and luscious it is here. I wasn't expecting that. So I got a. As you all know, because I made a film for you while I was in Peru, but I was in Peru in the summer, and we flew into Lima, and it's just Lima's quite tired, and it was so the contrast of coming into a city that it's on its, you can see it's on its ascendancy. It's a city of growth. It's sort of seeing the building going on and just the sort of the sense of purpose and going forward. Whereas by contrast, Lima as a city is really a city on decline at the moment. I'm sure their fortunes will change, but it was so fascinating to come and see, by contrast, two very different cities. And just in the short journey from the airport to getting into the city, into the hotel, was just kind of, here was a real young, optimistic city, and it was great to see.
Nice. Speaking of the traffic, what gets us Bangaloreans going with the traffic is the fact that the weather is really nice. So the weather kind of compensates for everything that we go through, including the potholes on the road or the stuff that you probably have to suddenly skip and jump and probably do a half high dive to get to your place. But the weather keeps us going and lifts our spirits high. But we are totally in agreement with the traffic, and we kind of have the difficulty.
I did see, we passed a bus where there was a passenger just leaning out. And I wondered, because the bus was going to overtake another bus, I thought, is he changing buses? I was just totally fascinated, but couldn't quite see. But
wow.
I don't know.
You could probably write a blog, Adventures of Being in Bangalore.
Absolutely.
And have the protagonist of the guy leading on the bus and probably invent a fictional tale from there. Claudine, how about you? The funniest thing you've seen in India so far?
Funniest thing? I don't know if it's funny, but certainly a previous trip that I went to sort of the Delhi area, and just so many cows everywhere. I was like just on the side of the street wandering around, and they look like really happy cows. So that was probably a takeaway. But the weather, I'm loving the weather in Bangalore. Previous trips I've been to Delhi and Chennai, and it's always been terribly hot and humid. But here, it's just fabulous. What a place to be based for a company. I would come back to Bangalore as my first choice every time. It's fantastic. Don't tell my Delhi colleagues.
The weather used to be a lot better in Bangalore, early 2000s and the late 90s. It's not as good as you think it is now. And even in the summer, we would wear sweaters because it would be kind of cool, and we would not have our fans on. But the weather still keeps us going, and it's a brilliant place to stay when it comes to weather. And that you spoke about cows and animals, I think we've learned to adapt around that system. And so when we see a cow, the cow and us know that, okay, you're going this way, we'll take it that way. So we... So we've adapted, we are fast that way, and it's called Jugaad, our language, where we kind of have shortcuts and we figure out our way and we kind of get things going, and we don't look at obstacles the way obstacles are, we look at solutions around those obstacles and get through cows or whatever has to.
In life like in work, amazing.
Awesome. That's a great question and great answers from the three of us, I would say. So this is the last question that we have. I don't know if you guys have seen the autos or the tuk-tuks, the three-wheel vehicles. Have you all guys taken a ride in one of those or fancying taking a ride in one of those and exploring the food places or the local food places in Bangalore? Do you all fancy something like that?
Oh, yeah, back to my passion about new things and exploring new places. 100%. I'm absolutely up for that.
Amazing. So I guess with the leadership team, when you're having some of the places to go to, you all could request them to take you all in a tuk-tuk or an auto. So Krishna, Abhishek, Keshav, Hardik, Rakesh, whoever is accompanying. Yeah. Yeah. So the leadership team will cover you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely love to join myself. So that brings us to the end of Green Tea with Zakki with Claire and Claudine. It was an absolute pleasure having them on the set and speaking to them about different things that SmartQ is doing and getting to know them on the lighter side. Do we have any questions from the audience that you'd like to ask Claire and Claudine before we wrap up the segment?
I'm still smiling at the idea of you having to wear a jumper. I'll tell you who had to wear jumpers was Abhishek and Madhu in the UK in February. They just could not believe how cold it was and had to go out and buy many layers in order to survive. So I'm sure having to wear a jumper here is nothing like having to wear a jumper in London in February.
I'm sure, I can imagine that, yeah. So I guess there are no questions. I think we... Okay, Krishna has a question.
Who in Compass inspires you guys the most? I'm just repeating my question. Who in Compass inspire you guys the most?
It's like a trick question.
I mean, there are many inspiring leaders around actually that that I take inspiration from, ideas from, get motivated by. But nothing motivates me more than a visit to a site. And visiting a Compass team, to meet the on-site chefs, to meet the on-site unit manager is always a shot in the arm. They have such passion for what they do, such energy in terms of the way they want to serve both the client and the customer. So I think any time, and I'm very privileged in my job that it requires me to go and visit sites, but I think any time if I feel my energy levels sapping, I could go and visit one of our teams and I know I will come away energized, definitely.
I would say, frontline teams are amazing. And the way that they innovate to make it happen for our clients with what they have. And, it could be digital, it could just be operational, but they always have the client and the customer in mind because they're on the coalface, they have to. So that's I think, where you get core innovation. But also, I think our culinary leaders, the chefs who actually make the food happen, I'm always amazed at how they, what they come up with to solve very specific client problems. From a chef that I came up in Australia who was completely passionate about, food in aged care, where it has to be like of a certain consistency, right? And it doesn't visually look appealing. He was absolutely passionate about the fact that we can make it visually appealing and there are ways to make it look amazing, even if it looks like mush, but we can actually make it incredible, and it still needs to be an experience for our customers, even if they're in aged care, if they're in hospital, and that's the kind of passion where it's beyond the sexy retail stuff, which we also do an amazing job at. There's passion for every sector, and I think that's something that keeps me going. The diversity of the stuff that we have to deal with, the different problems. It's never the same.
Right. No, fantastic. That's brilliant. Krishna, thank you.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Okay, please. Love that. Another question from Krishna. Go ahead.
Which place is your most favorite place to be in?
Bangalore.
Guys, that deserved an applause.
Namma Bengaluru.
Namma Bengaluru for the win, always.
Is this in life or at work or?
Just in life.
Oh, in life.
Okay, Claudine's changing loyalties.
In life. Well, they say home is where the heart is, and I have to say with my family, simple as that. And at the moment they're in Sydney, but wherever they are in the world, I think that's probably, would be my favourite place. I moved around a lot as a child, so I had many, many different homes, and so for me, that anchor of family is where your home is, stays with me today. And so I think that goes for my family, but also for work. I mean, when I say Bangalore, I mean, yes, there's that tongue in cheek, but also, I mean, work is your other family, isn't it? So in a sense, this is another favourite place to be, and I think you have to love your work.
Yeah. Amazing. I know, and being the family culture that we are second family to you, and so we would love to have you in Bangalore whenever, and we'd love to see more of Claire and Claudine coming over to Bangalore as much as possible now that the pandemic is gone, and have you all make this a favorite place or a place to be in whenever there's a chance to be in Bangalore. Claire, do you have an answer about your favorite place to be in?
Well, I certainly concur in terms of where family are, but on a purely transactional response to your transactional question, it would have to be, I have to say, the kids and I and my husband, we took an amazing trip when they were about 10 around sort of the canyons in America, and Bryce Canyon. In terms of meditation, if I have to close my eyes and go to a happy place, it will be the boys and I sitting with Rob on a bench looking at this incredible view of Bryce Canyon. Also had one of my scariest moments in my, where I thought, oh my God, I'm the worst parent on the earth, is when we went down into the canyon on mules, and my children were on the back of mules ahead of me with sheer drops they side, and I was just like, oh my God. So I don't like to think about that, but I do like to think, for my moment of meditation, I do like to think it is the most beautiful, incredible place for us as a family, that we were together just looking at this incredible view. So that's my meditation point if I go to that.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that answer. Do we have any more questions? Yeah. I think Rakesh, the meditation guru, has.
Guru.
Okay, you already named me. So it's actually not a question. So it's just one for a lot of you. I think I want to kind of share this moment, which I had kind of encountered during my initial days with Compass Group. So it's a moment of gratitude. In fact, I think we had launched a huge site in UK that was Jaguar Land Rover, and that was, I think, the first site after the Cafe Pass was launched. That was the first site, and the timelines were very tight, and there was a screw up, and and on that day in the evening, like the entire leadership team of UK, like the CIO of UK was there on the call, Claire was there on the call, everybody was there on the call. I was like really scared. So, but the way Claire backed us up, that it was actually the timelines which we gave them, and it was so tight, and this is the best they could do, and that's how much they could deliver. So I was really moved, and the way Claire made me feel that day, that was actually a huge boost for probably the next months or years to come. I think that's a small, they say, right? People will never forget the way they're made to feel, right? So I think thank you, Claire, for that moment. It was a huge support back then, and it still continues. And just wanted to kind of share that, you didn't pass the buck, you stopped it there, and you actually spoke on behalf of us, and you made us look good. So I think that was really special back then. So that's it. Yeah.
I remember that day well. That was some day. But yes.
Rakesh, thank you so much for that note. It was beautifully expressed. And Claire, thank you so much for standing up for us and helping us get through that point. Rakesh, did you have Nam Myoho Renge Kyo chanted continuously during that particular call? Back then, okay. Okay. So Rakesh does the meditation sessions for us, like I was saying, and he takes us through sessions where he chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which helps you cool down and calm down and not get too anxious. So just asking him was he chanting that during that call a lot in his head while he was figuring out a solution. Any more questions from anyone?
Hi Claire, I just wanted to ask you, you have covered a topic on, being in leadership as women. And I would like your advice for the people who are working in this company on how can they move on to leadership and, can become better at their jobs.
Ooh, it's that's a big question, it's a really interesting one in terms of so much has been written about women in business and some really great works published in terms of how women's brains, and these are generalizations, right? But how on balance, how women's brains work versus how men's brains work and sort of perception. We see this a lot in terms of confidence in terms of, how women hold themselves to a higher set of standards in terms of what they think they ought to be achieving. And that's really comes through and bears through in terms of women putting themselves forward for jobs. There's proof that shows that a woman will read a job description and unless she's done 80% of the job description, she doesn't think about applying for the job because she's not ready. And the male brain, on balance, will read the job description and think, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that, I'll put him for the job. And so, and again, these are generalizations. It's not that all women think that way or all men think that way, but it's showing how, and actually a number of companies are rewriting job descriptions to be less about task and experience and more about the type of person that they're looking for, because that tends to appeal to women more. Women will be more open-minded about these kind of things. And I think on your career, you sort of think, having that confidence to think, okay, I don't know how to do that yet, but I reckon I could if someone showed me, and perhaps being a little bit, not feeling like you have to prove yourself before you put yourself forward.
True.
Equally, there's lots of evidence to show that both men and women, sadly, when they look at women and men, when they're considering them for promotion, they often look to see whether the woman's done it, and they look to see whether the man's got potential. And this is unconscious. This is not, it's not a conscious thing, it's unconscious about, they look at a man and think, yeah, he'll be able to do that. But for a woman, not so sure, so has she done it yet? And if she's done it, then great, she's in the pack and we're delighted because we want to get balance. Yeah. But there's this sort of unconscious piece going on. And I think the more we talk about this, the more open we get this, then people can catch themselves. I certainly found when I started to learn about unconscious bias, I realized I held my women leaders to a higher level than men. I expected my women leaders to be more empathetic. If a man said something casual, careless, bit unthinking, I'd forgive him. If a woman said it, I'd be thinking, God, she should know better. Do you know? And I was reading about it thinking, oh, this is me. This is me. Yeah. This is what I do. I'm unconsciously sort of holding, and now have to really sort of check myself to sort of think, actually, do you know what? She's just human. It's just a human reaction rather than I would expect more of a woman, expect more of a man. So I think a lot of this is just us all becoming a bit more aware, talking more openly about it, checking ourselves. Are we being fair? Are some of these unconscious biases coming to the front, and sort of thinking through? And I think that's in yourself, about as you're evaluating and thinking about what next, just sort of checking that you're not holding yourself back, and sort of thinking about, could I do that? Okay, I may not have done, but why wouldn't I? Let's give it a go. And what's the worst that can happen? I think there are also some differences, in terms of, and I don't, again, I'm very conscious about making generalizations, but I know in my own career, when I was hitting 30, I was a head of department. And actually at BAA, who'd had a positive discrimination approach in the 80s, which was pretty unheard of at the time, they actually purposely brought in that, they had stated 50% women, 50% men would be brought in on the grad programs. And that at the time was quite unheard of. So when I joined the business in the sort of 90s, there were quite a lot of women leaders at that time, which was unusual. But they, I was going to say, what was I going to say on that? I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, sorry, completely went off my train of thought there about women. But I think sort of part of this is just really being more thoughtful about it, more intentional about it, and just trying to check yourself about how you kind of move forward. Because again, I don't think there's any lack of positive intent here in terms of where people want us to be, but some of it sometimes is just potentially us holding ourselves back, and then for everybody else, making sure that everyone else is thinking along these lines and checking that some of their perceived perceptions are not misplaced, and are they being as open-minded as they could be. Is that helpful? Yes. I don't know, Claudine, what would you think on that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I see that all the time. I mentor a number of people throughout my career, and I see it time and time again. Right. I see it in my daughter, this lack of confidence, I don't think I can. And I think if only we believed in ourselves a little bit more, and as Claire said, it is a generalization, but it, you do see it out there. So this concept of unconscious bias is a little bit everywhere in men and women, and it's just part of how we were, our culture, and how we were all brought up. So these are things that aren't easy to come across, but I think the bottom line is if we really think about it, talk about it more, it's easier to address and catch yourself.
We had a real problem in Europe. There was no women in the leadership team at all, and the managing director of Europe brought in the most senior women into a room where we all had coffee with him, and he was trying to sort of understand what he needed to do. And big part of succeeding is storytelling, how well you can tell the story. And super guy, Mark, the MD, he said, I know, I've got a great way where we can improve things. We'll have a competition, and we'll compete to see who's the best storyteller, and that'll really help skills. And it was like, whoa. It's like, most women I know would not be interested in a competition. Actually make it a competition, and it suddenly becomes difficult. If you said, hey, this lunchtime, we're going to get together and help each other become better storytellers, you'll have a room full of women, no problem. Yeah. And this was a complete anathema to him. This was wow, okay. And he was, if he hadn't talked to us, he might have thought this was a brilliant idea to go and have a competition to see who can be the best storyteller, and wondered why he still had a room full of men. There would have been some women in there. There are some fiercely competitive women, but also women are much more inclined to want to collaborate. That's how we get our, most of us get our buzz, is actually if we can all help each other and learn together and go on this journey together, you're likely to be more inclusive of women. So I think, just some of these things, talking to one another, finding out what makes people tick, can really help.
Awesome. Thank you for that great question, and thank you for these wonderful insights. I'm sure the women here would take that in great stride and apply that in their careers and instill a sense of greater belief in things they do, and probably give it a shot even if they feel 80% is what they match, and still go for the dream job or the dream activity they're looking to pursue. So thank you for those great insights. I guess we could end the session unless there's any other question. Awesome, that was a fantastic Green Tea episode with Claire and Claudine. I'm extremely grateful for you guys taking time out to do this with us. It was amazing, it was a unique experience, and it was the first time with a live audience. So I'm extremely delighted and express my gratitude to you guys for doing this with us. And we look forward to you having a great trip in India and exploring places that you all are going to go to, both places and food. And would love to see you all back again and probably do another episode of Green Tea with Zakki when you all are back. On that note, I would like to hand over these hampers to you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Claire, for being a part of the session.
Thank you. That's great. Oh wow, look, chocolate.
And this is for you, Claudine. Thank you so much for being a part of the session.
Being a fabulous host.
Thank you so much. So on that note, we end episode 3 of Green Tea with Zakki with Claire and Claudine. It was a truly amazing experience, and we look forward to showing our guests around and having conversations with them and continue discussing networking and building connections for life and upholding our family values of Rishta with the guests who have flown in from overseas. So thank you again. You guys have been a great audience. Let's clap for ourselves and end the session. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic session.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.